Hey everybody, Tony George, DocSports.com, Sweet 16 opening line report. Now, these are just gut reactions and initial thoughts. I opened these up about an hour ago. We've all been through a grueling 4 days. I know most of you have. I know I have as a professional handicapper and sports bettor. And the emotions that I told you we all would experience during March Madness last week, those three emotions were shock, horror, and dismay. And some of those continued for a lot of people, even into yesterday. So bear in mind, this is not the NBA playoffs. These are 19-year-old kids in a bubble playing for a national championship. So strange things are going to happen, and they're going to continue to happen. But big surprises here. The Big Ten and Big 12 never got off the bus. Obviously, the Pac-12 did. You got 4 teams from the Pac-12 in the Final 16. That's 25% of the teams in the Sweet 16 are from the Pac-12, which was overlooked all year long. 2 of the most impressive wins yesterday was for the Pac-12. I mean, first of all, USC over Kansas last night, which was a free pick of mine. And I've been saying all year long Kansas was never going to make it out of the second round. And they didn't. They don't have a good team. They struggled. They had to rally from 10 down to beat Eastern Washington and gave up 84 points. So, that wasn't a big surprise. I thought getting beat by 34 was. And USC hopefully didn't blow their wad because they played the best game I've seen them play in 2 months. Same thing with Creighton yesterday on Monday against Ohio. Ohio, just the moment was too big for them. That was it. Their 2 star players looked like they hadn't touched a basketball in 6 months. And Creighton looked like, when Creighton looks like that, they can beat anybody in the country. If they play like that against Gonzaga's not going to cover a big number, I can tell you that, if Creighton plays that well. And then you take a look at the Oregon win over Iowa. Iowa is an extremely good basketball team with the best player in the country playing for them. They dismantled Iowa. They made Iowa look like a clown. That game wasn't even close. I mean that, and Dana Altman can coach. He's the guy that put Creighton on the map. Way back in the day, I used to do a show with him out of Lincoln. When I was doing radio in Lincoln, I hosted the Dana Altman show for, I'm just saying, Creighton's in Omaha. It's 40 minutes away from Lincoln. But nonetheless, I'm saying that, there's a lot of Oregon State. Look at the run that they're on. UCLA, of all people. We'll talk about all that. Let's pull up these lines. But first, let's talk about the best bet on the board, on the futures. Let's take a look. I'm going to pull these up so I have them in front of me. Odds to win the NCAA championship. Gonzaga's at plus 150. Bet them now. Unload. I don't see anybody beating them. The next closest is Baylor plus 450. Michigan and Houston at plus 900. Alabama at plus 1,000. Loyola Chicago plus 1,400. Loyola Chicago played the most well put together, coached, and executed game of anybody so far in this tournament when they hammered Illinois. Covered by 20 points against the spread and beat the number 1 seed by 11 points. And it wasn't even close. Arkansas plus 1,600. Florida State plus 2,000. Creighton USC plus 2,500. Villanova, Oregon, and Syracuse plus 3,000. What did I tell you during live chat last week? What did I say when people asked me, who do you think's a sleeper that's going to go deep in this tournament? I told you, Syracuse. And I thought Ohio, too, till they never decided to get off the bus. UCLA, Oregon State plus 5,000. Oral Roberts plus 10,000. Gonzaga still plus number. They should be minus 120. Just saying. Those are the futures right now to win the NCAA championship. Let's break down the games. Let's go to Saturday. Oregon State opened up as a 6.5 point underdog against Chicago. Loyola Chicago, Loyola Illinois, however you want to call it. That's an early game that day. Loyola opened up 6.5. No team is as bad as what you saw them last time, nor as good as what you saw them last time. I don't think you're going to see Loyola play a game as good as they played against Illinois. That was the most well executed, well coached game, well prepared team I'd seen in this entire tournament, and that I had seen all year. That's how good they played that game. Do they need to play that good to beat Oregon State? No. Looks like a lot of points out of the gate. 67% of the money's on Oregon State right now. Villanova Baylor, Baylor 6.5 over Villanova, total 138. Without Gillespie, I can't go deep with Villanova, I can tell you that. Oral Roberts, a miracle win. I had them second after the Ohio State win. I took them the next game, and they came back. They grabbed victory from the jaws of defeat. The problem is in this game, Arkansas is too athletic, in my opinion. 11 points, a lot of points. Also, bear in mind that Arkansas is 26th in the country in rebounding. Oral Roberts, 230th. And I know they have the leading scorer in the country on their team. Syracuse +6 over Houston. Houston really struggled against Rutgers. Really struggled. Which was a little bit of a surprise. And I've seen Houston struggle. I watched them play Wichita State at Wichita State towards the end of the season. Not in the tournament. But because Wichita State blew it in the tournament, in the AAC tournament. But Houston's beatable. And you got Jim Boeheim coaching. And it's not that Calvin Sampson's a bad coach. Sean Salisbury and I am going to break this down in our Sweet 16 show that's coming out on Wednesday. Because he knows Houston. He lives there. He does radio there on a daily basis. And interviews Calvin Sampson all the time. He's friends with him. So we're going to pick his brain on that one. Looks like too many points to me. At least up front. So let's go to Sunday's games. Creighton Blue Jays +13.5 against Gonzaga. Total 158. Take the over. Also, if Creighton plays as good as they did against Ohio, and I don't think they would because Ohio put up no fight whatsoever and were completely taken out of their game plan from minute one in that game. So I don't know how good Creighton's going to be in this game. They're well coached. Doug McDermott's a good coach. They do have talent. They have shooters. Could be very much like a BYU Gonzaga type game. This is exactly what you're looking at. Over or nothing for me in that one. Michigan laying 3 against Florida State. This is probably the toughest game to call of all of them. Money's kind of split down the middle on this one. The total is 144, down from 146. You've got a two good coaches. Michigan, Big Ten was supposed to be so tough. They're last man standing. I don't know with Livers, how that's going to work. Didn't affect them. They put together a pretty good game the other day. I don't know. That's a tough call. UCLA, Alabama. Alabama put on a clinic on Monday. They can score. Alabama also can play great defense. This will be the best defensive team that UCLA's seen all year. But, what are you going to do with, UCLA? Look at the teams they've beaten, in this tournament. I mean, that's a UConn. That was a domination. They had to play an extra one to get in. That's a tough one. Alabama laying 6, total 145. Probably take the under. And finally, another big one, USC opened up at 1. Now they're up to 2.5 over Oregon. I don't think the problem, and the total is 139, which seems a little low to me. But honestly, I don't see either one of these teams playing a game and executing the way they did their last games. Both these two teams put together games in the second round that were unbelievable. I think USC had a much easier opponent in Kansas than Oregon did with Iowa, and yet so that's why that Iowa win is more impressive to me than USC, beating up Kansas by 34. because Kansas has no outside game. Oregon does. And I think in that game, Oregon has the better coach. So that's going to be interesting. We're going to break that down with Sean Salisbury tomorrow. I'll give you a free pick out of there. I still got to work on that. Total looks a little low to me. Total looks a little low in that Florida State-Michigan game, too, at 144. It's already dropped down 2. No major line moves. The UCLA-Alabama line went up from 143.5 to 145. And the Blue Jays and Bulldogs, that game stayed steady at 158. I'm seeing if there's any big line swings that I missed here. Oregon State and Loyola opened up at 126 and it's at 125.5, so no major swing there. The Baylor-Villanova game went up 1.5 points. Arkansas Oral Roberts has stayed steady, and so is the Houston-Syracuse game. And one thing about Oregon State, and that you take a look at the Oregon State, though, look at the resume they put together here, and I maybe it ends here. You know, I think Loyola is probably the better team there. I really do, but I was just going to wrote this down here. Oregon, if you take a look, they beat UCLA by 4, Oregon by 11, and Colorado by 2. That Colorado win doesn't look that impressive now, but nonetheless, to win the Pac-12. They were picked to finish near the bottom of the Pac-12. And they beat Tennessee in the opening round, a highly ranked team. Of course, that's no surprise. I told you, Rick Barnes is a complete clown as a coach and cannot win a big game, and Tinkle's a lot better coach than him. Okie State couldn't hit a shot to save their life. They were a benefactor of that, but they did put some pressure on him. So but that's pretty impressive resume here. We'll see what Loyola's got. It's going to be an interesting Sweet 16, I can tell you that. I think there's just looking at this between me and you and a fence post, there's one big top play in here, that I see. I think there's some opportunities with some totals as well. But those are my opening thoughts on the Sweet 16. Stay tuned to DocSports.com. Take advantage of the free $60 we have in the link in the description below and get yourself hooked up for a weekend of free Sweet 16 action by utilizing that $60. If you've never been a member at Docs, daily packages are $30. You can get Saturday and Sunday. Boom. Right there. Not only from me, but any handicapper over at the website. So be sure and utilize that to your advantage this week. Coming off 5-1 the last set on Sunday and Monday. 5-1 record there. I had one little hit with Ohio State, but other than that, we swept the board. So looking forward to the Sweet 16. Be sure and tune in tomorrow as Sean Salisbury and I discuss the Sweet 16, and we discuss and break down the USC and the Oregon game on tomorrow's free pick video for the Sweet 16. Thanks for tuning in.